doing this. Right. Most of you would. I would. I certainly wouldn't trust that. So clearly that's not what the law means when it says identify an individual. On the other hand, what if I were to say, oh, here is a medical record, but there is no way, I'll tell you that this medical record belongs to someone in Chicago. And it's an interesting case from a research point of view. It's a useful thing to study. But there is no way from studying this that you could identify which person it is in Chicago any more likely than anybody else. I mean, you just take a random guess. It's as equally likely to belong to someone living in the Loop as to some other person living on the South Side, and you have no way of justifying that. How many of you would feel that making that available, putting that in a textbook, is going to be a violation of privacy? How many of you would think that's an okay thing to do? Yeah, it really changes. The difference between 2 and 2 million is quite significant in terms of anonymity. But where is this break? Well, the HIPAA safe harbor rules give us a hint. They talk about things you have to remove. Well, it's not have to remove. There's 2 ways to deem data to be not individually identifiable. The first is this statement at the top of the slide. No reasonable basis to believe. Nobody knows what that means. The second is if you remove certain identifying information, the information is deemed to be not individually identifiable. Most of these are things like things that are obvious. No name, no telephone number, no social security number, no account number, no dates finer than a year. You can have someone's year of birth. You can have someone's year that they received a treatment. There is a slight exception to that. Publishing a year of birth for someone born in 1910 would not be acceptable. Any year that would identify someone as belonging to the segment of the population that is over 90 years of age must just be put as this is someone over 90 years of age. You can't put the actual year. So that kind of gives you another idea. Geographic information. I say less than 20,000 people. Well, it's not quite that. It actually says, the real text of it says first 3 digits of zip code, unless the first 3 digits of the zip code is an area that contains fewer than 20,000 people, in which case you use 000 for the first 3 digits of the zip code. Strange rule, but basically what it comes down to is they consider any geographic restriction finer than 20,000 people to be suspect. It may become individually identifiable. Now, does this guarantee that it's not identifiable? Well, not necessarily. You may have only, you could possibly have 20,000 people and only one of them were born in 1975. In fact, you could probably do a pretty good job of putting out a data set early on January 1st that would contain an individually identifiable person by listing their year of birth as 2007. The safe harbor rules, the way they're worded, would allow that. Of course, you wouldn't be able to put you probably have to release or remove the date that you publish the data set so that eventually people might think, oh, I don't know that anymore. So there are problems with these safe harbor rules. But they do give us some ideas. They give us some ideas that reasonably large groups are okay. That 20,000 people is almost certainly okay. So if you've got a 1 in 20,000 shot of identifying an individual, that's probably going to pass muster. Less than that, maybe, can't be certain. Well, what's the real problem here? One of the things with privacy, we concentrate so much on this individual identifiability, which we aren't sure what it means. But if we think back to what we said privacy was all about, it's individually identifiable and an intrusion. There's got to be some potential for misuse or some potential for harm. I mean, do you mind your data being known? Do you really mind that I know, would you really be upset if I were to know, certain facts about you that you might not want your parents to know? Well, that depends. Do you think I would talk to your parents? If you think the answer is no, then you might not mind that. People go talk to attorneys and tell them things that they certainly would not want their family, friends, corporate competitors to know. It's because they believe that data won't be misused. How many of you have made information available that is reasonably widely available that you wouldn't want available to everyone? How many have done that at some point? Quite a few of you. Generally that happens because you feel the risk of misuse is relatively small. Why did you do that? Was that just a case of you did something that you didn't know about and you wouldn't do it again? Or is it something that you feel you would do again, make this data available? That they wouldn't want everybody to know. I think a lot of that is that risk of misuse. So let's imagine a scenario where we can start talking about misuse and bringing that into the equation. Say we'd like to release a data set for diabetes research. And just to make this simple, let's assume that it is just demographic information, not specific medical details. So what's the risk? What is it that can be, what is the bad information that can come out of releasing this data set, or the privacy risk? Yeah.
You could be denied insurance.
You could be denied insurance. And why might you be denied insurance?
They think you're too high risk if they can identify you with diabetes.
They can identify you as having diabetes. So in a sense, we can limit the risk is finding out that you have diabetes. Or to make it kind of simpler from a view of working with it, the risk is saying, are you in the database? So we've got a very simple, what is sensitive? Are you in the database? Are you not in the database? So this made this a very simple problem. So here is a proposal of another metric for how to deal with this. Given a set of public data, this is what is known, and then we have this private data set. So the public data is demographic information about everybody in the world. The private data set is this demographic information about a set of people with diabetes. Well, this delta presence holds for an anonymization of that private data set if the probability that an individual is in the data set, given that we see the anonymization, is between delta min and delta max. Why would why would I be worried about being identified